That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about The Marvels, the third film directed by Nia DaCosta, which of course is a sequel to the 2019 Captain Marvel and also the 33rd film in the MCU. Disney is releasing it November 10th, 2023.
I know this director's last film.
Candyman from 2021, which we were both a fan of. And her 2018 debut, Little Woods, which also stars Tessa Thompson, is worth a look.
This movie, Carol Danvers gets her powers entangled with those of Kamala Khan and Monica Rambeau, forcing them to work together to save the universe. What's your pull quote?
A superhero film so anxious to satisfy everyone everywhere all at once, it ends up inciting dread whenever its foolish coven of superwomen are trying to act like people who like each other. The Marvels is as enjoyable as a turn in the pillory.
Mine, as someone who is uninitiated with Captain Marvel's world, I was wholly confused and unsatisfied with this film. Yeah, I did not care for this one. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, I didn't watch Captain Marvel. I didn't even know there was a Miss Marvel series.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But the story is, this one takes place 30 years after the last one. And in the last one, Captain Marvel destroyed this AI on this planet Hala.
In the Empire of Kree.
Which caused like a civil war, which also caused like their resources to be depleted in a way that doesn't make sense to me. Like they don't have water, their atmosphere is affected, and their sun is dimming. I don't know how AI controlled that, but the leader of these people, whose name is
Dar-Benn.
Played
by Zawe Ashton.
Dar-Benn is mad because she thinks Captain Marvel, who she's calling the Annihilator, is responsible for her people's demise. So she's mad at Captain Marvel, but she's also trying to find these two bands that are called the Quantum Bands. And apparently...
These bangles. These
bangles.
Arm jewelry.
They look like what Wonder Woman wears.
Yeah.
If she can find both, she has like, I guess, total power and can create these like portals, like jump points.
They're basically event horizons, right? But the terminology in this film is jump point, so...
But I'm confused because there are already jump points being made, so I'm not quite sure why she needs these bangles, but she does find one, so she needs the other one. Well, guess who has the other one? This little girl in New Jersey named Kamala.
Jersey City.
Apparently is Miss Marvel. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, her series from last year.
But this Kamala girl is obsessed with Captain Marvel. So because of something that happened, like whenever Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, or another character named Monica
Rambeau,
played by
Teyonah Parris,
who's the cousin of Captain Marvel. Not the cousin, the niece.
Yes, she's...
Captain Marvel's her auntie. We need to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm assuming like her adopted or play auntie, I don't know, but whatever. Whenever they use their powers in a way that's not really well explained, because it seems random to me, they interchange. And that's what they're calling the entanglement.
And it happened because Nick Fury, Sam Jackson, tasks Carol with checking out this energy surge on this planet that's like MB814 or something. While Carol's doing that, Monica's up in space doing something on some facility, and Kamala's messing around with her energy thing, and that causes the entanglement.
So Kamala's named herself Miss Marvel, there's Captain Marvel, and then Kamala has named Monica Professor Marvel.
I'm not sure if that stuck. But
I don't know if it stuck, but then she goes, oh, we're the Marvels. So that's where the title comes from. But so they're trying to figure out how to coordinate their efforts literally, because every time they use their powers, they interchange. But they also know they need to prevent Dar-Benn?
Dar-Benn.
Because Dar-Benn needs water, air, and sun. So she is overtaking other planets, taking their resources, which she's already successful in doing.
She takes the air from one.
And the water from another.
And annihilate. It's very Galaxy Quest in that moment with the species.
So it really seemed like she didn't need that other bangle, but whatever. Of course, you can predict that Dar-Benn
Dar-Benn.
gets the other bangle. She rips it off of Ms. Marvel. And immediately, this movie's shorter than the average Marvel film.
Thank God.
And I believe it's because the final act just happens like bam, 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 because
Fine with that.
the villain gets the other bangle and immediately
She clacks them together and disintegrates.
and dies. And Captain Marvel tells her, like, you're going to die if you do it. And she does. She immediately dies. But in the process, it opens up a bigger jump point, which is to like an alternate universe. And immediately, Monica's character goes, oh, yeah, that's a portal to just another space and time. And we can fix it. I can fix it very easily. You, Miss Marvel, and you, Captain Marvel, need to shoot me with your energy, because it's important to know Captain Marvel kind of like can create energy. Monica can harness energy
And redistribute it.
and Ms. Marvel can turn like light energy into like solid matter. So Monica says, you two shoot me with your power and then I'll use that power to fix the hole. Oh, but I have to do it from the inside. Of course, she does it so easily. I feel like in any other Marvel movie, dispatching the villain and fixing the hole would have taken 25 minutes.
Oh, she performed LASIK on the universe.
Literally as fast as it took me to get my LASIK,
Yeah.
it was like 2 minutes. But then she gets stuck on the other side. So then Kamala returns back to Earth where Nick Fury is. And she's like, wow, Monica didn't make it. And then Captain Marvel goes to Hala to fulfill a promise she made, which was to reignite their son, which she does like nothing.
Monica's like, you have the power. You could just fix their son. You could.
As easy as it is for me to connect like Apple CarPlay, that's how easy she just like reignited their son.
And
we need to talk about this.
Miss Carol Danvers goes, I've never done anything like that before. In 30 years.
Yeah.
It's like, is that a metaphor for the UN?
But anyway, so then she fixes their son, and little Miss Marvel goes and finds Hawkeye, whose name is Kate Bishop,
played by Haley Steinfeld. Yeah.
saying she wants her to join her team, which we've seen in other Marvel films at the end. So I guess that's like a common post. Well, that's not the post-credit scene. The post-credit scene is that, of course, Monica's not dead. She's woken up in this alternate universe, and she's being tended to by Dr. Beast,
Who's Kelsey Grammer.
who in the other movie was played by Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah.
So now it's like X-Men are in this movie.
Yeah, we're all
and
getting muddy.
Monica's mother, played by
Lashana Lynch.
but she doesn't recognize her daughter because it's an alternate universe. The end. Man, I think of all the Marvel movies I've seen, this was the least satisfying story. I was so confused. Yeah.
From what the little I read was that there were a lot of reshoots, I think, and I guess you can see it, but boy, it's there's a state of diminishing returns here. I don't know who is seeking this film out. I mean, there were people clapping in the press screening, but
There are always people clapping at anything. So there isn't anything about this movie I like. The thing I liked the least was Captain Marvel.
Brie Larson.
I hadn't seen this is my first time seeing Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, and I literally wrote down that this character seems so awkward. Like, she just seems like she doesn't know why she's there, even though it's been 30 years, and everything she's doing seems like she's not quite sure. And then the biggest gag is that this is your niece. This young lady who you haven't seen in 30 years. And we get a flashback to Monica being a little girl. And then when we see them together, they look the same age.
Yes.
I don't know if Captain Marvel's not supposed to age, maybe.
Wow.
But anyway, she hasn't seen this person who she claims to love and promise to take care of in 30 years. And when she sees her, she looks at her like she owes her money. Like, she just seems so uninterested.
Which is even more messed up. You haven't seen Captain Marvel, but in that film, that was the most repressed lesbian romance since the film version of Fried Green Tomatoes. I mean, she's adopting this little girl to care for, technically, in spirit, I guess, at least. So these two women seem like they loved each other. And then this little girl becomes this woman that is so torn up.
Her entire world is about missing her aunt, Captain Marvel.
At the very beginning, she hears her voice and she's like, "Is that Carol? Oh, I can't talk to her right now."
Yeah. And then when they finally get together, I mean, they couldn't be more cold to one another until the very end. Mm-hmm. Like, they never seem to reconcile.
I think all three of these women, none of them seem to actually be friends. They seem about as related as those women in that movie with Cameron Diaz, the other woman, where it's three ladies that share the same lover that screwed them all over. That's about how connected they are.
So there's this cat named Goose who Captain Marvel tends to, and Goose is like a magical alien cat. Mm-hmm. I thought that was annoying because this cat has like, tentacles. It almost looks like it has an octopus in its mouth that can swallow like humans whole, but it doesn't digest them. And it can swallow, the cat is a normal sized cat, but can swallow multiple humans and then just regurgitates them. And that's an important plot point because the ship Nick Fury is floating around on trying to tend to these jump points gets attacked, so they need to evacuate. But there aren't enough evacuation pods for all the people. So they have the bright idea like, because Goose has kittens.
Conveniently right before the threats.
Which is so stupid because earlier on in the film, on Nick Fury's ship, there's this random like pod that they're concerned might be like biological warfare. And then we learn later that, oh no, it's just that this cat laid these eggs that are hatching and they're these adorable kittens. And they decide, since we're limited on our escape pods, why don't we have all the kittens, because there were like 20 of them, swallow all the people so we can fit the 20 kittens on the escape pod. And then when they land on Earth, they spit them up.
But there's no guarantee that some of those cats start spitting those people out while they're still floating around.
That I thought was so stupid.
Because it is.
That's just like, there's no humor to this movie.
There's no humor, and I think going back to ragging on Brie Larson, she seems completely resistant to the energy that's required to sell something like this.
I think the comedic relief that they're trying to give us is via Kamala's family, her mom, dad, and her brother. I didn't quite...
It's doing kind of the same thing they do in Blue Beetle. It's like this family that all lives together, and I don't know why this adult male brother is living with them or won't leave the house, and then their house is destroyed essentially in one scene, and everybody's just like, fine.
Oh, let's talk about that, because they live in New Jersey, and their house is not fully destroyed, but it's like, holes go through the ceiling and the second floor, but it can be fixed and inhabitable, right? But in the end, after Captain Marvel reignites Hala's son, and now she's back on Earth, we see that she's moved into a house in Louisiana.
Which is from the first film.
And she brings Kamala's family with her. Why does Captain Marvel need anyone to help her move? She could carry the boxes, put it in a crate, and just carry that shit over there. Why would you bring these people from New Jersey to Louisiana?
I guess they needed something to do.
That just seems so stupid.
Much as like how I felt watching this film. I needed something else to do.
Okay, the scene where the three Marvels are trying to coordinate their abilities because they keep interchanging and bouncing back and forth, and I believe it's to the Beastie Boys Intergalactic. I thought that was corny. We could have used that time to better explain what the hell is happening, because it seems like when they use their powers, sometimes they switch. But then we see there are like 3 fight scenes where they are using powers and they don't switch. So paying full attention, knowing I would have to talk about it 3 hours later, could not tell you how that works.
Even with the montage where they're supposedly mastering how they do that, they don't explain it to us.
Then another moment that I guess is supposed to be cute is that they're trying to talk about, Danbar or Dar-Benn.
Dar-Benn.
Sounds like a drug for like arthritis, but they...
may cause diarrhea.
They say like, she's looking for like an atmosphere and water and sun. Well, where would she go for water? And Captain Marvel goes, I know. This place called, I think, Aladna. And they're like, let's go there.
Also sounds like a drug.
And everyone's like, let's go there. And she's like, she's being awkward about it. And then when they get there, she goes, okay. Well, first she pulls out this weird hat that looks like a jellyfish.
Yeah.
Made out of like paper streamers.
Very Party City.
Yeah. Very Party City. And she's like, okay, like, I don't want to explain, but like, just follow my lead. And we find out that she married the prince of this planet. So Captain Marvel is the princess of Aladna. And on this planet, they speak English, thank goodness, but they only sing.
And they can only ostensibly understand in singing.
They can only understand English if you're singing it. So then we get this like little musical number that was so flat.
Oh, it's so flat.
And then it occurs right before Danvers shows up to attack these people for their water.
Like immediately after the song ends.
The tone is so weird. Like this person.
It's jarring.
It's so jarring.
Her husband in that planet, Prince Yan, is played by Park Seo-joon of the film Parasite.
Who's very handsome.
Yes, but has nothing to do.
That was so ridiculous to me.
That scene felt as egregiously silly as almost anything in the musical version of Dr. Dolittle.
Well, speaking of musicals, when those kittens are eating humans to transport them off the escape pod, that song Memory from Cats the musical's playing, and I do like that song, and it was cute because who doesn't like kittens? But it's just, again, the tone is so weird because prior...
And it plays the whole song to the very end.
Yeah, but then immediately afterwards we see Danvers get killed in a more emotional moment.
Well, even when she's wounded, that's kind of the only emotion that the film musters, I think, is around this villain who I can understand her plight and understand why she's doing what she's doing.
Right.
Like nobody else, I don't know who any of these people are, really care.
Then because I didn't know Miss Marvel, I was so confused how Kamala knows so much and like she's really good at fighting.
Oh, the fan.
I felt so unoriented.
I was so underwhelmed also with what she's had to do here for comedic relief. But Dar-Benn, played by Zawe Ashton, who, I don't know if you remember her from Velvet Buzzsaw, and she had a minor role in Neil Jordan's Greta. She has, blue colored contacts in. She's giving me
And a grill. She has a gold grill in.
I
like how she looked.
I like how she spoke too. She reminded me of Joanne the Scammer and Jonathan Rhys-Meyers had a kid.
Yeah.
She's kind of a little rough around the edges, yeah.
I don't have anything else to say. I didn't not want to like this movie. We saw, what's the Hunger Games movie?
The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
I went into that fully expecting to not like it, and I was surprised. I mean, I still didn't like it really, but I mean, it was better than I thought it would be. So I went into this film with the attitude of like, oh, I hope that I'm pleasantly surprised. But I think this might be one of the worst Marvel films I've seen.
I mean, I don't like most of them, but yeah, this is definitely on kind of getting to the bottom of the barrel here. The part I had to laugh at, though, speaking of how the villain is more relatable, even though it doesn't quite make sense. Like, this is the way you had to, if you can get resources elsewhere, can't you transport your populace to just a better place in
You've
general?
been traveling for 30 years all over the universe. You couldn't find a planet to take your people to?
But then Carol Danvers goes, she's tried to destroy every place I call home. And if that doesn't sound like a white lady thing with her multiple homes being plundered.
We need to talk about Captain Marvel reigniting the sun, because
Yes.
we see all the people of Hala. They're just chilling. They just look like it could be any Saturday night in Silver Lake.
Like they just came out of the bar and like, oh, the sun's out again.
Yeah, it just looks like a cool night, a cool breeze, and then she reignites the sun. And I just thought, wouldn't that affect their
One of these people haven't been breathing until quite recently, like easily, and had access to water. Shouldn't they be dried out and cold and kind of starting to look like some kind of creatures after decades without these natural resources?
I don't expect the science to make sense in movies like this, but this really felt like no one considered that anything may not make sense. It just feels like there are so many corners cut.
In every
in this
possible
story.
way. And I was at least expecting like, oh, well, maybe DaCosta is... This is going to allow Teyonah Parris a chance to shine, who was in Candyman.
I thought she was... Like, I like her screen presence,
Sure,
but I felt
yeah.
like of the three Marvels, she was the most awkward with the fight choreo and like watching her run, and it just didn't feel like that's what her character wanted to be doing. So that didn't... Like, it just wasn't a pleasure being around these three characters and watching them do anything
No,
together.
it doesn't seem like anybody had any fun making this.
Okay, what would you give this film?
1. Ugh.
I would give it 1.5 out of 5. Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.